There's another couple of people that have to come on board, but there we go. Awesome. We're going to be delving into sales, and hands up whether you like sales. Hands up if you hate sales. Awesome. There's your first problem. But we're actually going to make the process really pleasurable because you don't have to be that tacky salesperson. You don't have to be that person. But before I delve into that, we're going to, the way that it's going to roll for the next half of the day is I'm going to run you through the sales process in very brief detail. And then what we're going to do is partner up for half an hour, and you're going to pitch one another. So whether it's pitching your own product or whether it's you pitching my product, I really want you just to have a go with the outline as to how you pitch and give each other feedback. Then what we're going to do is jump back on, and I'm literally going to pull apart everything that you've done. And I'm going to show you very clearly why your objection handling isn't working. And I'm going to show you that sales is actually an internal job. Right? Everything that we are holding on to, every objection that we have, we don't have the ability to handle it. So this is a really powerful process. Now, the only way past it is through it with everything in life. And if you're avoiding sales, you're never going to be able to develop a sales process that is really pleasurable for you to embark on. The reason that I love sales so much, and it's one of my favorite things to teach, is because I have done it so much for so long, even when I absolutely hated it, so that I could develop a way that felt really in alignment and in integrity. So this afternoon's probably going to get uncomfortable. It's going to get uncomfortable for you guys because I'm going to be calling you forward. I'm going to be calling you out because you're not sitting in this space for me to play into your excuses like a people pleaser. And I'm going to shine a light on everything that is holding you back within your process. But before I do, I just want to touch on something. There was a really interesting conversation that Janelle and I had over the break. And I said to her, it's really interesting. Sometimes I have this little feeling of nerves, and it's totally outside of sales, but I just think it's something really beneficial for you guys to understand. And it's something that I do on a really regular basis. So I said to her, it's interesting. Sometimes even before I press play, I get these nerves that come up within me. And from an outside perspective, people are like, oh my gosh, I'd never perceive you as a nervous person. Or before I walk on a stage, I absolutely have nerves. Like there's a part of me, and especially my ego mind, that goes, well, what if you fuck it up? What if you say the wrong thing? What if you do this? And we were talking about how I redirect energy. And this pertains to any aspect of your life. I actually perform at my most optimal when I'm under stress. And the reason is because I'm not defined by the stress, but I cultivate the stress and I choose where I redirect it. So let me give you some context. At the moments of my life where even last year, I went through a breakup and I was actually feeling really stressed, a little bit anxious. I was feeling like my heart was a little bit heavy. And I performed at my ultimate best. And a lot of you have probably, delved into, whatever it is in the way of using sexual energy. And the book, Think and Grow Rich, speaks about this. I think it's chapter 11, where they speak about redirecting your sexual energy and your desire. So this is no different to any other emotion. If we understand that emotion is simply energy in motion. And it's up to us where we put it. So when I went through this separation, although it was my choice to separate, there were these feelings and emotions that were arising within me. So what I decided to do was develop this bit of a process, knowing that emotions are nothing but energy in motion. I thought, right, how can I drop into a visualization process and cultivate that ball of energy that's there, or the emotion that is there, and then choose where I'm going to redirect it to get a result. Right? So if we understand that everything is energy, we can really prioritize where we're using it. And this is what I do with nerves. I take that nervous, that anxious feeling, I cultivate it, and I choose where I put it. Now, a lot of people don't have this level of awareness around what they're even feeling, let alone actually using it and redirecting it. And this is something that you guys can do moving forward. When you're jumping on that Facebook Live, get intentional about what you're doing with the nerves. Get intentional about what you're doing with the fear, the anxiety. Because you can use that. If you don't identify by it, you can use it to get a result. And there are so many speakers that are very similar when they're in stressful situations. I even know leading up to this event, I had a very important team member leave my company. And I used that, I cultivated it, and I chose not only to see it from a bird's eye perspective, but absolute understanding and the dynamics that were at play, but I chose to use that overwhelm, use that stress, and redirect it in my favor. And this is another piece where we can take radical responsibility of our life in entirety. You know, we can either use that and sit in the anxiety and sit in the nerves and allow it to dictate what action we're taking, or we can still choose to take the action and use it in our favor. Does that make sense to everyone? It's a powerful process, really powerful process. Do you have a question, Sarah? Anne? No? No? Okay, perfect. I just saw your hand go up. I didn't know whether it was, hey, can I say something, or yes, I agree. Does anyone have any questions in relation to that before we delve in? No, perfect. All right, so we're going to go into a brief outline of the sales process, and you guys are actually going to feel into it, because I believe the best way that for you to learn is by actually doing the thing. You don't know what part of the sales process that you struggle with if you don't do the sales process, right? The reason that I was able to develop this process for me, and this isn't to say that this is going to feel completely in alignment with you and who you are and what you're about. And it's part of the reason why I never give a sales script. And there's a lot of coaches out there that give you this done for you sales script, follow the script, you will absolutely get sales. But I know that's not true, because I don't want anyone that has worked with me to jump on a sales call feeling robotic. So it's important for everything that you learn today, for you to take, for you to use, and through using that process, you make it your own, right? So the first part of sales, and the most important part, does anyone have an idea of the first step in sales? Put your hand up and unmute yourself if you have an idea. Sarah, Andy.
Building rapport.
100%, yes. So building rapport. If someone is not comfortable, they're not going to buy from you. We need to create in any sales process, and this is why I talk so much about building the brand, about offering the value, because you're already building a level of rapport when you get on a call with them. Because you've offered them so much already, you can have a great sales process, but if you've got no leads and you haven't built rapport and they don't know who you are, the sales process is irrelevant. And this is why we have to have so many things in motion when we are building a business. And it's important that we're constantly using and implementing all of those pieces throughout the process. So a couple of ways of building rapport. The best way is to find a point of reference, find a point of similarity. And I ask for you to write this down. There is nothing going up in the group around sales simply for the fact that I'm not going to give you a script. It's up to you to take multiple notes so that you can decipher and create your own amazing sales process based on everything that I give you. So when you find a point of similarity, it may be that you share the similarity of motherhood. It may be that you share the similarity of past experience. I find that I build rapport so easily because I have had darkness in my journey, that I have experienced anxiety, depression, self-doubt, overwhelm, fear, panic attacks, eating disorders. I find that I can create that relatability and that rapport so effortlessly because I'm completely transparent in my life experience, because without my life experience, I wouldn't be here. And there's so many people that think they've got to be this professional and they've got to jump on a sales call and build rapport in a really authentic way. Oh, you're a mum? That's great. I'm a mum too. You need to dig deeper than that. And that comes back to creating relatability around why you are the same. There is no way that people will see my brand, see the level of value that I add, and a lot of them can sometimes put me on a pedestal. There is no way that I would be able to create the level of relatability if I held myself on that pedestal. What my mission is to tear that pedestal down so that they can very clearly see that where they are is where I was. And where I am now is where they get to be. Because while people are holding me up there, they're thinking that it's out of reach. And once again, this comes back to genuine intention. Because I know while I'm pedestaling anyone, I don't believe that that result is attainable for me. And if I'm in the game to deliver results, no one can put me on that pedestal. So another way to build rapport is by mirroring and matching. Mirroring and matching voice tone, voice pace. Mirroring and matching body language. And a perfect example of this is if you were a really softly spoken person and you were very timid and you're a little bit nervous and you got on a phone call with me and I was talking like this and I was super loud, I would make you feel highly uncomfortable. So while I'm in the context of presenting, I choose everything. Everything is strategic to make you feel comfortable, from what I wear to the way that I speak. And it's no different to a sales call. A prime example of this is I'm very aware that I can sometimes have a very masculine approach, especially when I present. So I'll usually always wear my hair out and I'll always wear something girly. Because on a subconscious level, you feel more comfortable when I'm floating between the two. And I've realized this over my time in the space. I realized while I was wearing my hair in that high ponytail and I was wearing all black and I was in that suit, people weren't able to relate to me because I was already this masculine presence in my energy. Yes, I'm more feminine when I'm in my personal life, but I'm all about results and certainty, and this serves me. But I needed to create the relatability so that you felt like you're in a safe container by toning it down in other areas. No different to a sales call. Assess where your client is or your potential client is, and make sure that you're not necessarily changing yourself, but you're meeting them to enable them to feel comfortable. And this is what you can do in the way of pace and tone within your voice. So if you've got someone that is a little more timid, maybe just wind it back a bit. And you're a highly energetic person, just wind it back a little bit. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you're someone that's timid and you get someone that's pumped up and motivated on the phone, just meet them there a little bit. And this comes over time. You know, I feel my greatest gift was being in the hairdressing industry from the young age of 15, because I had the ability to read people, and not deliberately, but it was innately. Right? Because I was in the human business from such a young age that I was offering advice, I was communicating. A lot of you probably wouldn't believe that I'm quite introverted. And outside of everything that I do in the way of change that we're creating in this world, both of us are really super introverted. But hairdressing I was grateful for because it enabled me to read and do those things and mirror and match and communicate effectively so innately, so it became part of my organic blueprint. And this isn't going to be just easy straight off the bat. You mirroring and matching and becoming aware of these things is something that's going to develop more effectively over time. Just going to read a couple of these. Hospitality Works helped me with that too. Absolutely, Seda. Yeah, that happened for me as a makeup artist, 100%. That's why I wear jackets, to step into my masculine. I love it, V. This works so well for me in my retreats. I always dress down to create relatability. Absolutely, 100%. And I think that's while it's nice to represent that opulence and that luxury, I just know for me, if I was rocking up in a Gucci attire or Armani attire, you know, there's that pedestal again. I want you guys to know that, like, I've been where you are, where you're going. Like, I've been there too, and that relatability is so super important. So building, I'm going to write some notes here. So we want to find the points of similarity. We want to mirror and match. Now, I ask you, especially for the initial stages of your sales process, I would honestly leave an hour open. You don't want to rush this. You don't want to half-ass it. You want to leave an open space for you to actually communicate, because here's the biggest thing. Connection and conversation lead to conversion. And part of the reason why I've got such high conversion is because I actually love human beings. So I want to know who they are. I want to know what they're about. I want to know what their pain points are. I want to understand them. In order for me to help them, I have to connect, right? Like, I wouldn't be able to get the results that I do if there wasn't that connection point. I'm connected to the result of my client just as much as they're connected to it. Right? So we want to build that connection and the conversation to lead to the conversion. So this is why this process can't be rushed. So rapport is the most important piece. And if you're not starting the conversation, if you're delving straight head first into a tacky sales process, it's not going to work. So then we're going to continue with some conversation. And this is sort of going to tie in together. These two go together, because through this conversation, we're going to build rapport. So understanding them. Like everything else, the more emotion that you have within your sales process, the more successful it's going to be. The amount of times that I don't do sales anymore, like in the way of a phone, I teach it. But there were multiple times that I would get on a sales call and I would hear someone's story and I would be reduced to tears on multiple times. And that emotion, like that emotion, you don't need to sell, because you've actually got someone's highest good at heart. Because I'm like, oh my gosh, I see you. I see where you've been. I was there too. And that emotion is definitely going to create success. So you actually need to be listening. You've got to listen throughout this process. That's going to enable you to connect from that heart-centered place, as opposed to you over-analyzing all of the details. You've got to connect with this person.
The future is happy.
If the first part of this conversation goes for half an hour, perfect. I'm not going to give you a time limit. You know, you're going to move through this. It's going to be different for each person. I've had people on the phone, you know, years ago when I was doing sales, and they would literally talk my ear off for like an hour, and then finally, you know, get to the point where I was converting. But, you know, it's going to be different depending on the person. But this is the thing, like sales is the thing that's going to move the needle forward. So if you're not, this is where you get money in your account. So if you're not prioritizing time into this to make it effective, it all becomes irrelevant. You know, the value that you're adding, that's why it all ties together. Without one, you don't have the entirety. But this is the closing process. So the next part is pain and pleasure. This is where we create a bit of leverage. And I know a lot of salespeople teach this, right? But I'm going to completely reframe it, because I think that other salespeople actually teach it from a really tacky place. But it's very effective if done with the right intention. Because what a lot of people do is they really want to create something. But because their ego mind, their excuses, the hazards, their third dimensional reality is sitting right in front of them, they don't actually create a change. But what we do when we take them, so the question that, you know, throughout this process, this conversation here, you're going to ask them, like, what do they want to create? Like, what is it that they're wanting to create? What change is it that they're wanting to experience? I'm just going to add this in here. Once you establish that through the conversation and you establish what they're wanting to create, what I would love for you guys to do, because it's going to just be, and I won't usually do it myself, but I know I used to, and this is why I'm adding it in last minute. I just want you to sort of have a look at the objections that they might have. So the question that you would ask is, so, all right, what is it that you're wanting to create? What change are you wanting to experience? Perfect. And what has held you back from achieving that in the past? So what we're in fact doing is objection handling ahead of time. We're creating a little bit of a frame around what's going to come up at the end. And I'm going to tear apart and delve into objections with you. But we're going to do that after you guys have a bit of a practice and see what happens. So in this moment, they may say, oh, it's probably been money. Aha, money. You're not going to handle the objection now. You're just going to keep it in the memory bank. Oh, it's just been a time thing. You know, I'm a busy single mama and okay, time objection. Perfect. Oh, you know what? It's just something that I've been thinking about. Maybe I'm not committed to. Okay, they're a think about it person. Right? So then you're going to have a bit of a frame of the conversation, and then we're going to take them into pain and pleasure. This is where we create leverage. So the question that you would ask is, okay, understanding, and it's really important throughout the conversation that you reiterate what they say. And this is why listening is so important. So throughout the conversation, you know, you said that you want to scale your business, and money's probably been the one thing that holds you back. And I understand, like right now in this moment, that is an excuse that is inhibiting you from moving forward. But I just want you in this now moment to really presence what you are experiencing right now within your business. You know, you've got this business, it's doing okay. And I just ask for you to reflect 5 years into the future. And if you're not going to take any action right now, what's your life going to look like? No action. You're just going to sit here. You're going to do nothing. You're just going to think about it. You're just going to fall into your own way. What's your life going to look like? And the reason that I think a lot of people, you know, yes, a lot of salespeople that teach sales, they do this to create the leverage. But what I understood was this is the reality of it. And how dare I not point that reality out to someone? Because I'm well aware at stages of my life, I've thought about something for too long, and then I'm quick to blame someone a year from now if I haven't got a result. But the reality is, it was my responsibility. So you're just actually allowing them to see this reality if they don't take the action now, but this is the result that they're going to get, and they've got no one to blame but themselves. All right, so when they've done that, perfect. All right, there's an understanding. You've had a conversation about that. The reality is this is what it looks like. They've explained to you. All right, perfect. Shake it all off. Shake it off. Now I want you to close down your eyes, and I want to ask you, in 5 years from now, if you act in accordance with your highest self, if you're braver and more courageous than ever before, if you've got that business that you desire because you've taken the action, what does that look like? So you're giving them this polarity. So then you're going to say to them, knowing this polarity, knowing that the choice lies in your hands in this moment, how committed are you to that vision? If they're any less than a 10, I'm a little bit cutthroat in this. And it just comes with certainty and belief. And I understand that while you're still learning sales, sometimes that certainty and belief isn't there as much. If anyone's less than a 10, I'll cut the phone call. And majority of the time they look back around. If they're less than a 10, the question that I would ask, if you're comfortable doing that, you know, my response would be no one gets on a phone call unless they're at a 10, number one. No one gets on a phone call with me if they're less than a 10. But what I would say in this scenario is if you're comfortable with having that certainty and that belief, just say, look, the reality is I am in demand for what I do. And quite frankly, if you're less than a 10, you're not the right fit. Because I work with people that are willing to take radical responsibility, that are willing to get resourceful, that are willing to step over their excuses. And quite frankly, judging by the fact that you're less than a 10, you're not that. So if you're willing to have that level of certainty and say that, and I know there are a couple of people here that would 100% feel comfortable with it, not from a place of ego, from a place of, yo, I'm going to shine a light. And if you want to build a business and you're less than a level 10 commitment, we've got a problem. Right? If you don't feel comfortable with that, I would say, how do we get you? Like, what is it standing in your way that's going to get you to a 10? Where are you? You know, how committed are you? Okay, you say that you're an 8. What's going to get you to a 10? What is it? Because maybe, and this is where you can offer more value, maybe you're not aligned with your business. If you're not a 10 out of 10 commitment, like I'm 100 out of 10 commitment to my business, there is nothing I wouldn't do. So I don't understand when someone is like, yes, I'm so passionate, I want to do this, I want to get this result, like I'm so committed to it, and I understand that everyone's in different fields. But if you really want that result, well, you've got to take the action to get it. And you've got to be committed to the result. No one else is going to do it for you. And these are some of the conversations and the frames that you can create with your clients. If someone's coming on board to maybe overcome trauma, well, how's the trauma served you in the past? And what's the reason that you're not at a level 10 to eliminate the trauma? Because you know it's not serving you, but you're not committed enough to let it go. So what's the gain to the trauma? What's the gain? Is there secondary gain to it? Is there that you may get attention because of the problems that you have? Like, you get to have these conversations with your clients. And the way that I look at any sales process is offering value. You'll see this afternoon the way that I handle your objections, because your objections are the ones that you're going to get. And this is why I do it in this format. But you'll see that I am here irrelevant of a sale to actually show you every shadow. And those shadows are the reason why you're not having successful sales. The reason that I have a 1 out of 2 conversion, it's actually an 85% conversion rate, is because I've looked at every one of the shadows. I've looked at the time excuse. I've looked at the money excuse, even when I had none. I've looked at the thinking about it. I've looked at every objection. So I know how to handle all of them because I don't have them internally. And the greatest gift was for me to go out there and invest in the way that I have, because now I feel comfortable with going, this is what you need, because I know the results that I get when I invest, right? It's all the intention behind it. And if you're coming from scarcity and need for the sale, you're not going to get it. If you're coming from abundance, you're going to offer value, you're going to have certainty, you're going to give them a result irrelevant of whether they purchase or not. And I guarantee you, they will convert. So we're going to establish this, and you can objection handle that level of commitment. You know what? Some people are going to be consciousness level 1, and they're going to be cool with being at a 5, and they're not your ideal client. You know the amount of people that I turn away because I'm not willing to settle. That's also in the way of clients. I don't settle for clients just to make a sale. If someone's not the right fit, I will turn them away. And let me give you an example of this. I had a lady that, and a lot of you, I've probably told this story, I think on the Scale Up webinar, but I had a lady that was literally applying for my stuff all the time. Everything that I would launch, she would always apply for it. She'd book into my Calendly. She'd want to talk to me all the time. And I got to the point where she was talking to my team so regularly that I was like, cut her off. Because she's not doing anything about it. And until she's ready to take radical responsibility, I'm not going to play into it because everyone else in her life plays into it and I'm not. So she spoke to one of my team. He almost had her just over the line. And he said, you know what, maybe it's worth one last try. She doesn't convert. She doesn't commit after this. We will tell her that it's all over Red Rover. She's no longer welcome. Can you get on a phone call with her and not spend any more than 15 minutes? I said, sure, last go. I got on the phone call with her and I said, sister, what's going on? I know that you've applied for a numerous amount of products and, you know, you're only letting yourself down because you're not only wasting our time, you're wasting your time. My time's valuable. I don't know your attitude towards your time, but I'm going to put a stop to it now. And she came up with every excuse. She was every excuse, every piece of victim, every story. Her life was a mess. There was this, there was that. She was upset, she was angry, she was all of these emotions, and she was at the effect of all of it. And I said, you know what, sister, bless you, I love you, I see you, and I know that this is just part of your journey, and if you enable it, it will work in your favor. But there's some serious lessons here for you to learn. Right now, I don't want to work with you. So I'm asking you now not to apply for anything else. You're now disqualified. I'm going to end this phone call. And that's the end of it. She spent the next half an hour pitching me every reason why she should work with me and how she was willing to take radical responsibility for her life. She had a credit card out, ready to purchase. I didn't do that deliberately. There was no intention of making a sale with her. I actually didn't want the sale. But when you're willing to let people go because you actually give a shit about calling them out and teaching them a lesson, they will actually want you more. Because a lot of people, when they've been through a sales process with me or they've been through a sales process with my team, they realize it's not a standard sales process. We don't push, we pull. And that's why majority of my stuff, and I think Luke, it was you that pointed out the other day, I don't actually have any sales on my website at all. Everything is application only. Because I'm not just going to take on anyone. Right? And this is coming from the abundance mindset, even in every process that we implement throughout our business. We want to pull people towards us. We're the solution. I know that I'm the solution to people's problems. I'm certain about that. So why would I have to go out there and verbal diarrhea it over everyone? If I've got actual certainty, I don't have to search for it. They come to me. Make sense? Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about what the offering is. What's really important is that you don't give too many details. I don't want you to say, oh, hey guys, okay, all right, well, I would love for you to join Amplify Mentorship, and it includes 4 business immersions and 24 group coaching calls, and then you get 6 expert interviews, and it includes this beautiful thing that happens at the beginning of the program, and then we've got guest speakers, and then you get this chance. I don't want too many details. People are going to tune out. This is my offering. This is the result that it gets. And wait and allow them to ask for more. So they might say, oh, awesome, perfect. Tell me more about it. Okay, well, we delve into it for 8 weeks. Or this is what's included in the pack that I would suggest. Or this is how the business model works. And this is the investment. Don't say a word. Give it to them and then zip. The first person to talk losers. Because if you're over justifying, people can see that. If you're coming from certainty and belief, you don't have to justify. People know if they attend something of mine or they spend money with me, you know, when I've got a one-on-one client, I don't say, well, we're going to do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. I'm like, yeah, we'll just get a result. That's it. Okay, what do you want to achieve out of the next year? $1 million? Okay, what are you at now? 500 grand? Let's do it. I don't need to talk about how. So then answer the questions that are here. You're already going to know at the back end of this, you're already going to know what objections they have because you've already identified them up here. First objection. Can I think about it? This is a really interesting one. I used it on Scale Up as well, but thinking about it gets us fucking nowhere. And you get to call this person out, right? So I created this program called Thinking About It. And for the first month of the program, Sarah Ann, you can totally relate to this because this is the point that I called you out. For the first month of the program, we think about it. We create an amazing goal, an amazing vision, and we think about it. We look at the piece of paper, we don't do anything, we think about it. And then for the second month, it gets so much better because we tweak that goal. We don't take any action. We just look at it and we think about it. And then before you know it, we've spent a whole year together. This amazing mentorship. We've spent a whole year together and we've achieved jack shit because all we've done is think about it. But I would love for you to invest $20,000 and think about it with me. Right? Like, seriously? I think that is the biggest bullshit excuse I have ever heard. And your ability to make decisions and make them fast is going to deliver you the result. And it's no different to anyone else. I'm totally going to do a TikTok on that. Brilliant idea. Thank you, Laura. Right? But here's the thing that you're going to realize this afternoon. You are only attracting what you are. And if you're fearful and you think about it, you're going to attract it. If you have money objections, you'll attract that. If you have time objections, you'll attract that. And that's why I was on a mission to eliminate every single one of those from my life. And the reason that I made an investment a couple of years ago, I knew and I caught myself thinking about it for far too long, procrastinating, contemplating, and I knew my ability to make that choice, make it fast, whether it worked, whether it didn't, was my ability to reach that destination that's ever evolving. So what I did is I got on the phone to him. I said, I want to be your quickest sale in history. Here's my credit card, go. 1 minute, I invested $4K. Because it wasn't to prove something to him, it was to prove something to me that I'd made the choice and I wanted to do it fast because that was going to be showing up everywhere else in my life, right? And it was like, how could I tell someone not to think about something if I was spending my whole life in avoidance and thinking about it? Doesn't even make sense. Basic law of quantum, like attracts itself, right? So there's your think about it objection. And this is what you're going to practice, and then I'm going to tear it apart. Money objection. Pen and paper ready. This is a big one. Money's not the real objection. It's either that you don't believe in me or my product, or you don't believe in yourself. And I would love to know, before we break and we practice this, for all of you, and this is something for you to ponder over the time that you're actually handling these objections with one another. If I was to, and I even saw your reactions and I'm reading your body language every time that I bring up Amplifier Mentorship, and I watch what happens from a level of comfort within your body. Number one, this is a problem. But number two, what is your objection that comes up? If I was to say, I'm going to give you this offering, it's guaranteed results, it's a 30K investment, there's finance available, we can make it attainable. What's the first thing that comes up in your mind as an objection as to why you can't? And for those of you who are already working with me, that becomes irrelevant to you. But in the chat box below, what's the first objection? Because this is going to be your greatest hurdle. Can't afford it. Time. Believe I can. Self-worth. Ooh, big one. Not good enough. Ooh. Okay, guys, there's more we get to clear out. Knowing where I am with finances, tax, I don't feel ready, and worth. Wow. Big ones, guys. And how are you going to, like Tara, for you example, how are you going to show someone their worth and to invest in you who doesn't actually think that they're worthy? Right? Like, how are you going to shine a light on someone else's worth and then get them to invest in you when you don't believe you're even worthy of the sale? Right? Because I know for all of you that said money, it's either that you don't believe in yourself, but I can pretty much say that you would believe in me in my program because I know what it delivers. But it's either one of those. It's that you don't believe in me or my program, or you don't believe in yourself. But you can't expect to call someone out, because how many times have you been in your life where you've had an opportunity that's been given to you? You've got this thing. It's like when I invested in Gary Vee. Here's an invitation. You want to be in proximity with multi-million and billionaires, in proximity with all of the most amazing global change makers in the world. And then for me to go, oh, I don't think I'm worthy. No, I can't afford it. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Figure it the fuck out, right? And that's the level of resourcefulness that we have to have. Like, it's so much bigger than you. And you guys stepped into your highest version. Not only is this where you have to invest from, this is where you have to create from. This is where you have to sell from. Not this mediocrity that you've been living in, right? You created your target plan. You created your vision. And then look how quickly it's happened that you've said, oh, I can't afford it. Like I said earlier, it's easy to have the goal. Acting in accordance with it, making decisions in accordance with it is the part that people don't do. And that's why there is such a small percentage of people that actually achieve true success. Because it takes a huge level of bravery and commitment and actually believing before we see. We cannot see it to believe it. We have to believe it before we see it. And we have to hold that intention. And we have to act in accordance with it. And then it manifests in our external reality.
Krista, can I just ask?
Of course.
When you're saying, in terms of the money, and you're saying you either don't believe in you or you don't believe in ourselves, when you're saying you don't believe in ourselves, does that mean I don't believe in create the money to pay for it? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, you don't believe in yourself in whatever aspect is relevant for you.
Okay,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't believe in yourself in taking the action. Like, there was not a doubt in my mind when I made the first investment that it was going to scale my business astronomically, and I had to make that investment in order to create that scale.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it wasn't that I didn't believe in Gary Vee in the initial stages where I went, oh shit, hang on, this is probably, for 3 days I'm paying 25K. That's probably the biggest investment that I've made for such a short period of time. But it wasn't that I didn't believe in him. It was that I actually, and my ex-partner, because the first time that I went to him was when I was with my ex-partner, and it's part of the reason why our relationship broke down, because he goes, oh, well, do you think that's the solution? That's a big investment. And I said, no, he's not the solution. I'm the solution. Because I can go there and I can listen and I can draw on all of his knowledge and wisdom if I do nothing with it. Right? So it's more believing in yourself in that aspect, believing in yourself to go out there and do the work, to take the action, to come up with the money, to improve your finances.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
Because how many times have you guys been in a space where, would you do it again, Krista? The 25, 100. Oh, well, I did it again in New York at the beginning of the year. So I did it twice. Yeah. So I did it again, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. And like Kerwin and I, because we both did both of them together. And yeah, 100%. I would go back, and only because I know that the power of that proximity, without a doubt. Yeah. Totally digress. So this is just pointing out to them that it's not actually about the money. How many of you can relate at a time in your life where you've had to come up with money hard and fast, and all of a sudden you've done it? If something's of high enough importance, we will find the money and we will find the time. And time is the poorest excuse that anyone can have. It's that you're not committed enough. We've all got the same 24 hours in a day. If someone gives me a time excuse on the phone, oh my God, and I'm going to be tearing apart these objections this afternoon after we have a little bit of a practice. If someone gave me a time excuse on the phone, I would say, oh my God, don't talk to me about time. How committed are you to your goal? If you're committed enough, if you value it enough, time is like completely irrelevant. When I first started my coaching business, I walked away with $0 to my name. I was on Centrelink benefits. I went back because I wanted to actually put all of my integrity and my intention into studying. I went back and worked 3 days a week as a hairdresser and built a coaching business and raised a child of my own, so that I wasn't in scarcity, so that I wasn't doing all of this study and trying to do it scarcely to go out there and earn money. I wanted to know that I had that covered, and that I was still building a coaching business on the side, that I was still looking after my daughter. Don't talk to me about time. I had 4 brick and mortar businesses where I worked 14 hours a day and had a child. Don't talk to me about time, right? But if you've got the time excuse, you're not going to be able to hold someone to that account. Do you see how a sales process is all a reflection of you? And I still get money objections. Not that I do sales calls, but there's still money objections. There's still time objections, but they become irrelevant within about 3 seconds flat. Because I know how to handle it, because I've handled it internally. Now you know how to handle the time objection as well. So what we're going to do is make reference to the partners that you are with. And what I want you to do is either pitch your own program, or you can pitch mine, whichever is going to be effortless for you. I want you to have clarity going into it, and I want you to feel into this process. To use it, it's not going to be perfect. This is not going to be perfect, and that's not the idea of it. I just want you to get a feel for it and practice it.
Krista, quick question.
Yep.
When someone gives you the money objection, do you actually go, do you believe in me?
Yep.
Do you believe in my service? Or don't you believe in yourself? Do you ask those 3 questions?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
I'll always say, well, if something is of importance to you, money is never an objection. That's not the problem.
Okay,
You
cool.
don't believe in me or my program, or you don't believe in yourself. Which one is it? And they'll usually say, oh shit, it's a light bulb moment for them. I actually don't believe in myself.
Well, to be completely honest,
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I said yes to this, because I've never had that broken down to me, and I didn't realize in that time it was all me, like me limiting myself, my own self-belief, my own worth within myself. So that's what's really helped me get to where I'm here right now.
Totally.
You breaking it down. And I've been a part of a network marketing company for 2 years, and I never realized. It just wasn't a light bulb moment because I wasn't ready to hear that then. It's all a part of my journey. Yeah. Okay,
absolutely. Cool. And that's the perspective of like, Even if they don't buy, you've still shone a light, right? I'm not going to let someone get off the phone and think that, that they've got it all together. The reason their life is the way that it is because that's what they've created. It's got nothing to do with anything external. It's just what they're choosing.
Hey,
A majority of us are just completely choosing disempowerment on a regular basis.
Can I share?
Yeah, of course.
When I first started my journey, I remember my first investment was $2,000, and it was scary. It was scary because I didn't believe in myself. I knew that. I almost could admit to myself that I could go to that seminar and do fuck all with it. I kind of knew it because deep down there was a shift that had to happen internally that I hadn't yet had happen. Yeah. So then the next thing I did was $27,000. And I was like, shit, I don't even I had no idea how I was going to pay for it. I didn't have my business flowing in any way, shape or form to justify that, in terms of it was probably 30% of what I was earning at that point in time a couple of years ago for the whole year. And I still had to pay rent and do all the other things, right? But one thing that I suppose I wanted to share, because I've invested in you at a large scale as well, is that I feel that what people do is they don't understand what's actually important, right? So we rent a house because my personal growth, my professional growth is far more important than knuckling down to have some fucking ownership of a home right now, right? And it's so interesting because I've used this so much with my clients. It's what is actually important? Really think about it. And if you don't see yourself as the most important person and the most important thing in the world, you've got your head screwed on incorrectly, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely BS that we're raised to think that we should save for a house deposit so we feel secure, right? This is what I got brought up with. And it's bullshit. Save for a house so you can then work your ass off paying off something you can't afford because you still don't think you're worthy of the house you live in. And that was the biggest shift for me. I heard someone say that and I was just boom, this makes complete sense. Yeah. It's the blueprint stuff. It's you've been raised to think shit is important that isn't. Go look at your bank account and figure out where the fuck you're spending money on wasteful shit like cars and houses and nice clothes, and then get your ducks in a row. And that's what I had to say no to, all that stuff for as much time as I need to get the result. And now when I'm earning $400,000 a year doing what I do, it shows up, right? So I just wanted to share that because I was one of those people who couldn't get the $2,000 together, who was scared shitless. And the amount of growth I've been able to experience because I've had people on my side is phenomenal. And I know stuff that Krista knows. I'm not coming to her for things I don't know. I'm coming to her because I know she's going to hold me when I'm lonely and I'm in this business state and I'm going, oh, I can't figure it out. It's the best thing you'll ever do.
Thank you, woman. Thank you so much.
Toot
my horn. Stop it. No.
Yeah, it's just so true. It's so true. And I wish I had someone be able to explain that to me years ago. Me too. As a 36-year-old now, I wish I knew this when I was 25.
Yeah.
Right? The longer we wait, it's just the longer we wait, right?
Yeah. And I think too, in our investments, and this is what you get to show your clients as well, in our investments, there's also we're backing ourselves into a corner. As I framed to you earlier, I realized that even when I invested in Gary twice, there was this level of comfort that I was experiencing. It was oh, my bank account looks good. I'm pretty sweet. I'll just keep going. And I realized that I had no leverage. So I was okay, if I make and by the New York trip, I took my assistant and my daughter. So it was a $65,000 trip. It wasn't just the $25,000 investment. I went and made that investment. And then I was boom, game on. I've got to make that back ASAP. Right? I've got to make this worth my while. I got my leverage. But what a lot of us do is oh, I'm pretty cushy cozy, even if it's shit. I'm mediocre, I'm just living far below what my full potential is. I'll just keep cruising here. and then we wonder why we don't get a result. Em?
Yeah, so thanks, Jess, because I'm 36 too, and that's the first time I've ever thought of the world in that way. I bought my first house when I was 20, so totally flipped it on its head now. But my question that I was thinking before that, which kind of ties into that, is what happens if you're surrounded by people? So my objection to Krista when I was going to sign up to 2020 was I needed to talk to my husband, because he has all sorts of objections to spending any sort of money on anything, whereas I was a lot more ready to part with the money for my personal growth. And I've got the money and I felt comfortable with it and all that sort of stuff. But when you're surrounded by people that aren't, I guess that's just another objection. So I need to talk to my partner. I get that one a lot with mums, because a lot of them are stay-at-home mums or things like that. So they do often either are relying on income of somebody else, or they don't have much income. So they kind of feel like they need to ask for those sorts of things.
Totally. So what I would do, I think that sometimes that's a scapegoat for a lot of people, and it's definitely one that is a bit trickier, because I understand, like, I've never been in a relationship that has, you know, I've always been independent financially. So I guess that is a little bit of a trickier one. But what I would suggest is that, you know, if they're investing in you, it's not only the change that they're creating for themselves, but the ripple that they are creating for their husband, their children, you know, creating it in a new frame. And I think that, you know, you get to ask the question of, like, how do you feel having to ask permission? Like, part of a relationship dynamic is that we're not intertwined into one, right? Like, that's a healthy relationship dynamic. We don't want to become this, where we're each other's life force. And how is, like, I understand there's so many different dynamics out there, but I would ask them, how does it feel to actually make independent decisions, to make independent investments? Because I know I wouldn't feel great if I had to ask someone's permission when I'm a nearly 32-year-old adult to invest in something that wasn't only just going to benefit me, but benefit the rest of my family. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Can I just jump in and say about, like, the relationship thing with investing money?
Yeah.
So Sam and I used to be very, like, entwined and need to know every detail, and, you know, we wouldn't make a decision unless we had the other person's support and things like that. But we actually spoke about, you know, how I love personal growth and investing and so forth. And I said, like, I know that you really want to support me in that, and that's what I want. Like, I want to be able to make a decision without having somebody to say yes. And when I invested in you, Krista, like, that was like a lot of money, like, for me, and the biggest thing I've ever done. But I literally made that decision within, like, a few minutes, like in 5 minutes on the phone with you. Sam was in the other room. He had no idea. And I made that decision. And I went out and told him and said, I know you really would have supported me regardless if I'd spoken to you or not. And he was so happy that I had, you know, said yes to you. And yeah, so that's kind of like what I want to share as well.
Yeah. And maybe it's just like, I'm so glad that you shared that, sister, because maybe that's the frame that you can create with people with that objection.
Yeah.
How would it actually feel if you made the decision with certainty, and then you went and said to your partner, hey, this is the decision that I've made, and I know that you've got my back. I know that you're in alignment with my highest self, and this is the decision that I made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, just having that support and just having that conversation with your partner. And I find, like, when I have, you know, made sales with mums and that has been an objection, is I'm like, trust yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it's very, like, confident and beautiful in your relationship to have that, where they can make a decision on their own without your permission.
Yeah.
So yeah, just having that clarity in that relationship.
Yeah, I love that, sister. Absolutely. So it's like another reference point that you can even offer more value around the dynamic that they're in as well. But it's just not a matter of taking no as the answer, right? It's going, okay, well, let's delve into that a little bit more, because that's another thing that's inhibiting them from their growth. If they can't grow unless they get permission, let's take money out of it. If they can't grow unless they get permission, how's that going to work?
Yeah.
Like, allow them to see it from a different perspective. So guys, I'm going to give you until 2:30. You've got 20 minutes to get on a call with your partner and run through the process. Obviously, you're not going to, I just want you to have a brief outline and feel into what feels most awkward for you. I want you all to stand in leadership and call each other out if something's awkward. So you're going to have 10 minutes each. Let's actually make it 2:35. So you've got a little bit more time. And then we're going to jump back on board. And hang on, let's go to 2:35. Then we'll jump back on board and we're going to tear it all apart. I just want you to have a feel into it because I think that's the best way for you to learn as opposed to listening what I've got to say. You actually need to implement it immediately. So 2:35, I'll see you back here. Bye.